Hey, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to show you something that commonly happens on an RV. If you look closely here where my countertop hits the wall, where there's usually a gap, they have some caulking here and it's all split right down here. Now this is a very common item. Even at home, you can see this happening quite often. And in an RV, it compounds quite drastically from, the bouncing up and down going down the roads. Well, I'm going to show you what's causing this and how to fix it, but this is not my only area. Let's go back here. Now, if we go back in my bathroom, I've shown this before, but this actually broke on my very first week of ownership. And if you look closely, all this caulking here is cracked really bad, and it's starting to crack here. And I also have it in the shower here. And there's a couple of reasons. Obviously the RV is bouncing up and down, but let me show you what we have going on here. If you look at this really closely, whatever Dynamax used here, it's a very brittle product that they used. It's hard as a rock. Typically any kind of, let's look at this again. See this here? Typically most silicones are a little bit soft, or it's more like a rubber product. And right here, it's a little bit more rubbery, but for whatever reason, this is really hard and brittle, and it doesn't surprise me at all that it cracked. The other thing that I noticed is if you look at this actual wall panel, you see this? The wall panel is just floating here. There's a little 1x backing behind here, but it looks like they didn't attach this panel to that backing, so it's allowed to flex like this. So I'm going to show you how I do the fix here. There's several ways to do this fix, but I'm just showing you the way I do it, and maybe you'll see some pointers along the way. The other thing is the product selection is very important. So I'm using this DAP Extreme Stretch, and if you look at this here, it has stretching qualities of 600%. And just like I mentioned, as you know, RVs of course go down, bouncing down the road, and this can eventually happen to you. Now there's no excuse that this happened within the first month of ownership. They should at least get you past a year, if not a couple of years. And I've had some RVs where I've never had to actually touch it at all, but this one, it just didn't do well. And like I mentioned, it's whatever product they're using, it just doesn't have that stretching capability, and they're just not doing the product installations correct. All right, I'm going to get started here, but one of the important things you're going to want is one of these plastic scrapers with these blades. You can get a bunch of extra blades, but I'll likely do a time lapse on here. I don't think you want to see me scraping this off, but I'm just going to take my time and get this scraped off. Alright, well this turned out to be a little bit more difficult to remove than I thought originally. Looks like they used a pretty wide bead of some type of silicone. It is some type of silicone. It's not as brittle as I thought. It's brittle, but it still has a little bit of a silicone property. It doesn't stretch, but I definitely would not have used this product. It doesn't have enough flexibility to withstand this. Alright, I got all the caulking cleaned up here, and if you look closely, you can see this wood exposed right here. So when I scraped the caulking off, it was hard to tell on the camera, but they had the caulking beyond just the joint. It overlapped into this white part, which is wallpaper, and that wallpaper came off with the caulking. So when I put that new bead of caulking around, I'm gonna definitely have to touch up those areas or make a wider bead to cover those areas. But I'll show you, well, let me show you. So I'm gonna break some cardinal rules when I do this. So first things, I'm going to clean this area up with alcohol here. You wanna have a really good clean surface to work with. Alright, what I'm going to do here is I have a little air brad nailer. If you don't have a brad nailer, you can just get some really small finish nails. But I'm going to basically secure this panel to that backing in the back so this doesn't vibrate or flex like this. Okay, you see how this panel won't flex anymore? So, like I mentioned, if you don't have a brad nailer, you could just use some pretty small finish nails and put a couple of fasteners in here. But when you're trying to caulk two pieces together, you shouldn't have any flex in the items at all. Alright, the other thing I'm going to do, just like most of my other projects, is whenever I do a caulking project, I spend extra time and make nice lines with some painter's tape. And you really want to do this to save you a lot of time in the future on cleanup and to give you a nice caulking joint. So when I remove it after the caulking is done, it's going to look all nice and smooth or straight line. I'm going to do that over here too. And on this side, I'm staying outside those brad nails. So I want those brad nails to be covered with the caulking as well. And this is a pretty big joint here. But all I'm doing is trying to hide all these imperfections here. And we'll have to do this down here lower. Let me show you the dilemma I have right now. Is you see this pretty big gap right here, and it goes pretty far back. On a typical caulking joint, you should put what's called a backer rod, which is basically a round piece of foam, and you stuff it back there so the caulking can't ooze back there. It'll crack over time. I think that's what the manufacturer should have done from the get-go, but I have pretty good luck with this 600% stretch stuff. So I'm going to basically squeeze that caulking way back in there, and I'm going to keep squeezing and pushing it back there until I have the caulking goes back and hits that piece of backing in the back. So that's my plan anyway, so at least I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, remember I cleaned all this up with alcohol, but first things first, I'm going to squeeze a lot of caulking in the back where that giant gap is and try to fill that cavity. I think what a lot of times the manufacturers will do is they'll just squeeze a quick bead in here and not push it way in the back, and you'll just end up shrinking and cracking right away, kind of like the situation I had. Okay, do the bottom here. Okay, next thing, what you want to do, you're going to make sure you have plenty of paper towel on hand. The other thing is right here, I have just the bottom of a water bottle, but I have 4 drops of Dawn dish soap. And I'm going to add some water to this dish soap here. Not much. Basically, it's like a slippery solution of dish soap and water. So what we're going to do now is basically dip your hand in that dish soap solution and push that caulking back into that cavity. And that's what I'm going to keep doing. And take that extra. You're going to eventually wipe it off, but I'm going to keep pushing this caulking into that deep cavity. Like I mentioned, the perfect solution would be to have some baccarat and stuff that baccarat in there. So I'm dipping in that solution again. So instead of just being finished, what I will do is, because I know that void or that gap was pretty large, I'll run another bead through here. And that's basically, we're really trying to push that caulking way back into that cavity. And we're going to repeat that procedure. I'm just going to get my finger wet, and I'm just going to keep pushing that caulking way in the back. Look at all this excess caulking here. It is going to be a little wasteful, but dip my finger again. And dipping it also gives you that very smooth finish. Otherwise, your finger will get hung up on that caulking. And I think we're pretty much done here. I think we're done up here. I'm going to take this tape off, and I might have to do some more touch-up later, but I just wanted to show you what I do. And this is real time, except when I did the scraping. But really quick, I think I spent a total of I don't know what did I almost had an accident with this water here. I think I spent a total of maybe 10 minutes of caulking, the actual caulking part. And this, like I mentioned, this is where you want to spend the extra time and tape it off. Otherwise, you're just going to have a mess on your hands. So there we go. So luckily, my wallpaper is kind of white. So it's a very large bead of caulking on the outside, but it hid all those blemishes. Hopefully that made sense, but that's how big the original caulking joint was. The main caulking joint was in the center, but there was a little, we'll call it little film of overlap. Okay, so here's the finished portion up here. It's still wet, so you can kind of see this. Looks like I need to fix that little portion up there where I will work with my fingers, and then right here where I had to transition from this to here. I'll clean that up, and very important, if you have this wet solution, it's much easier to clean up. And I'm going to hit the rest of the areas, but really short, quick video. This is eventually going to happen to you somewhere along the lines, but you want to definitely get a product that really works well for you. And really the cause of it, you saw it. I think this area here, most of the cause was because this whole panel was flexing. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Let me give you the finished project here. Now when I did the kitchen, I didn't tape off anything, and that's just going by based on experience. So I think it turned out pretty good. Time will tell how long this stuff will last, but I can almost guarantee you that it will be better than what the factory had. And going in the bathroom, not really totally satisfied with the results. It's definitely better than what it was before. I actually ended up doing here and here as well. And then you obviously saw over here. That light flickering doesn't help. I don't know if I can pick this up a little bit better. But definitely much better than what it was from the factory. And over here, I just applied it over the top of the existing. I didn't bother scraping everything out because I was really worried I would end up damaging the wallpaper, more wallpaper, and causing more damage than it, it's more aesthetics over there. And over here, this is aesthetics and function. You don't want that water to roll to the back. But really simple. I think I spent about an hour overall total. If you're new to this, you'll probably have to spend a little bit extra time. But I highly recommend this DAP Stretch stuff here. Like I said, you're going to definitely need something that stretches quite a bit, but it's a simple repair that you can keep redoing. But that's my 2 cents. Again, this is just an amateur doing this. So if you're a professional and know all the different type of sealants, do it your own way. All I can tell you is that this is definitely done better than the factory. So that's all we really need to do on our end. But hopefully you like videos like this, and I'll see you on the next video.